Funding for Nemesis Blood Arc is provided by G Fuel, the sponsor of this video, obviously. Chances are you know who Schaffrillas is, something I cannot say with as much certainty as Biffweed can, because not only is he not someone YouTube Studios told me any of you watch, but more importantly, Studio also apparently proved that nobody listens to me when I say subscribe to Biffweed. Oh hey, there he is. What the fuck? I don't know if my content is as influenced by his as Biff, but he is the only ranking YouTuber I regularly keep up with. Him and the funny Pokemon working in the mine guy. I still watch rankings sometimes, but I've definitely fallen more into the icebergs about things I know nothing about for some reason, or long-form media criticism on things I've never watched or played sort of train. So one day I came to Biff and said, what if we did a pair of videos? One ranking every top place Schaffrillas ranking placement, and one with the bottom. I was fully ready to dive into the realm of slop and garbage that is a bunch of movies I don't want to see, plus the goated dinosaur. But Biff jumped me and decided to take the bottom ranking. Okay. Not gonna complain, but you sure, buddy? Okay, so unfortunately I drew the short straw and had to be positive for a solid 30 minutes or however long this video ends up being. But let's be real, you aren't here to listen to me yap. Let me quickly go over our nominees for this evening's main course. Best Animated Feature winner, Spirited Away. Best Disney Renaissance and Disney Overall movie, Beauty and the Beast. Best Star Wars film conglomerated from all of his rankings because I think it's funny to assume his opinion than know for sure The Empire Strikes Back. Best DreamWorks film, The Prince of Egypt. Best Pixar film, The Incredibles. Best 2000s Disney film, Lilo and Stitch. Best Studio Ghibli film, Whisper of the Heart. Best Sony Pictures film, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Best 2010s Disney film, Moana. Best Blue Sky film, Spies in Disguise. Least abjectly shit Illumination film, Despicable Me. Best Direct-to-DVD tax loophole exploitation, Lion King 1.5. Best Wes Anderson comedy, The Grand Budapest Hotel. Best Steven Spielberg Whimsy Fest, Schindler's List. Best Christopher Nolan Mindfuck, The Dark Knight. Best George Miller Australianism, Mad Max Fury Road. Best James Cameron AI generated work, Terminator. What's that? Oh, Biff doesn't want to go past George Miller? Oh, that's fine. I've got 16 really bad movies to rank already. I don't need another one. James Cameron's acclaimed unheard cautionary tale Terminator 2 and whatever the fuck Muppet movie would have been on here can stay on the side until I, and I alone, do a part 2 5 years from now because Biff's going to tell me he's too busy when that comes around. This isn't including best of rankings and rankings of things that aren't specifically the movies themselves, except for with Star Wars because I'm like that. So I guess this is where I try to be positive for a long period of time without a proper punching bag, right? Well, I can only stall for so long, so let's get this over with.
First off, why is the sequel called Naked Gun 2.5? What's half about it?
I feel kind of bad about this bottom ranking, because Lion King 1.5 is just not for me. That's not to say it's a bad movie, I think in several ways it's actually really good. It's got a good sense of humor, I like Timon and Pumbaa's relationship, and I enjoyed seeing more of their time with Simba. And seeing as Lion King is basically a furry's version of Hamlet, making a sequel that's a furry's version of Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead is actually genius. But I genuinely don't even know what there is to say about the movie because I think about it and I just think, yeah, that was funny, I enjoyed it, that's about it. Because I just don't find the hook compelling, which I guess makes sense because the thing it's based on is primarily a comedy and I don't find the story that interesting. Which again, makes sense, there's only so much story you can even put in a movie like this without risking plot holes in the original film, which the movie still manages to pull off anyway. It's a movie that's pretty much just trying to be funny, and that's what it does. Can I really complain? Yes, I can. That breakup did not need to happen, for fuck's sake. But I really just feel bad, because this is, I think, the top ranking that felt the most like Schaff was going, it's not the best, but I like it the most. Which is, yeah, that's how he sounds. Which is pretty much exactly what I did in my Hasbro ranking.
You turn them into birds.
Alright.
Spies in Disguise is a good movie. That's about it. I think it's a solid and fun movie with relatively consistent humor, pretty fun action, enjoyable characters. There's some really fun animation too. The start of this film always feels like an animated version of Kingsman: The Secret Service. Lance Sterling is established perfectly and remains deliciously entertaining throughout. They make good usage of the potentially annoying bird thing by getting a lot out of the potential humor and using it to play into the development of Lance as a character. Though I do like to imagine instead that this was the glass of piss that Lance just chugged down Reagan style. And thankfully they do get rid of the bird thing early enough that we get to enjoy some Will Smith playing literally just himself but slightly easier to kill a bit more in the movie. The final action scene is fun, I like seeing Tom Holland get his moment in the limelight. I think it's overall a very fun movie. It's not anything amazing, like the villain isn't up to much, and honestly I didn't get a killing is bad message as much as a make sure you don't leave any survivors message. I wasn't a fan of the obligatory third act breakup, and I don't know, a lot of his gadgets at the end kind of end up feeling, I don't know, weird. Like, a big point of the film is that nobody wants to acknowledge his gadgets because they're not, like, they're just so weird. But, you know, he has stuff that can send people flying, that could easily kill someone. Or, like, a device that can stop missiles in their tracks. Like, I just can't buy into the idea that this agency saw that and didn't go, you know what, that's actually kind of useful because defensive options are important. Like, it feels... I know I'm criticizing the world building and the lore of spies in disguise, but come on. It is a fun enough movie though, like I enjoyed it, it's not bad. Will Smith also says that's hot, so I need a sequel to this where someone touches his new pet bird and he says keep my bird's name out your fucking mouth and then slaps them.
Find the computer room!
Despicable Me as a movie is extremely good within the context of what it's being compared to. On its own, it's still good, but like, given the franchise, you know, it's surprisingly funny, it has surprisingly good character arcs, surprisingly just everything else is good comparatively. Before Illumination decided to make Studio bring Cueto their inspiration for how much effort their movies warrant, they made Despicable Me, and it's a film that genuinely tells a compelling story of a villain who comes up with a terrible plan that ends up going so wrong that by the end of it, he becomes a villain and also a dad. For as easy as it could be to fuck up a story like this, Despicable Me successfully managed to tell a tale of this absolute gobshite and his evolution into a better person through nothing but being the parent he never had himself. He's enjoyable to watch, he's compelling as a character, seeing him bond with the Goyles and balance that with his desire to steal the moon. It's the main heart of the movie. Despite his silly voice that should get grating and the third act breakup, I never felt like Gru was anything less than a fully fleshed out character in this movie. Yeah, his voice is silly, but he has so much conviction in what he says that you just can't get tired of it. You want to hear this guy just continue using the dumb voice. And the breakup is something I genuinely buy given the circumstances. This is what Gru has always wanted to do, and someone else pushes him to make the choice to give the girls away. He clearly doesn't want to, and literally the first second after he finishes the heist, he immediately goes back to them, at least he tries to, and he dedicates the rest of the movie to getting them back. I also just don't think the minions are annoying in this movie. In fact, I don't just think they're not annoying, I think they actively add to the movie's charm, and to a shocking extent, even emotional moments, not the strongest ones by any stretch, but the ways in which they come together to support Gru at multiple times are genuinely heartwarming. Just ignore the extended scenes of them goofing off with the most brain-rotting humor ever conceived. Yeah, their jokes aren't usually that great. In fact, my favorite joke is just a minion that gets sent to space remaining in space forever, and that minion could have been replaced with a fucking 90-year-old lady and it wouldn't have changed how funny it is. In fact, I think the old lady being sent off to space would have been funnier. And there are a few jokes that are just not it, but overall, I think the comedy sells itself, and any jokes that don't land can be ignored for how good the story is. Not to mention, Vector is literally Vector. I mean, I can just leave it at that. Despicable Me, despite having its flaws, is a good movie, but like, it definitely has more noticeable flaws than a majority of the films on this list, with it having an entire villain that just vanishes at one point in the movie and never gets addressed again. I generally call this a very good movie. A masterpiece? Nah. A great movie? Probably not, but a pretty damn good one.
Despite the numerous accounts and widespread belief in the white woman's existence, no concrete evidence has ever been found to substantiate the claims.
Beauty and the Beast, my chair, can you shut up? The supposed best Disney movie of all time. Do I agree with this ranking? You could probably tell the answer is clearly no. But I definitely wouldn't say I dislike this movie. In fact, I think it's genuinely really good. God, it feels so wrong to be so positive all the time. I really don't know where to start, actually. I guess superficially, the movie is gorgeous. Pretty much all animated films on this list are gonna be visually really nice, but this is still a highlight amongst highlights. The way the characters move is so magical. Belle has this balleretic grace, Gaston has this blunt over-exaggeration, and the Beast is, just the Beast. Beast has some of the best character animation I think I've ever seen. I had not watched this movie before doing this video. I knew pretty much dick about who Beast was as a character, but through nothing but his few scant lines of dialogue, the context of his situation, and primarily how he's animated, I could immediately get a read on who he was. Some doofus who projects this image of a beast. He tries to live like a beast, act like a beast, but not for no reason. He doesn't really have any hope left of breaking this curse in him. So if he's going to be a beast forever as he believes, he might as well act like one. Acting like the beast might make him feel less sad about the fact that he's going to be that forever. And the fact that he needs to act that way to not feel so bad about it is part of the reason he's cursed at all. He can't see how anyone so butt ugly could be loved. Because he can't see how anyone so butt ugly could be loved, he thinks he's going to be the Beast forever, he might as well act like the Beast, but he's sad to be so butt ugly. More or less, very simplified. But in many ways, this lack of hope is something he's just projecting, because the moment the possibility of breaking it comes about, he does consider it, but he tries not to commit, because as much as he wants and hopes it could happen, he just doesn't see it as possible. These things are obvious to a viewer, and a lot of that is just from how he's drawn, how he emotes, how he acts. No one needs to come in and go, wow, Beast, you're projecting this image of yourself because you don't think there's any chance. That said, you do kind of, but, you know, you don't want to commit to the possibility because you don't want to be disappointed, you know? Because you think you're so ugly that no one will ever love you, even if you... Yeah, they don't need someone to come in and say that. Beast is just, like, my favorite character in the movie. I really like the Beast. Beast is just great. I mean, there's a lot of nuance, but it's hard to explain because the movie is written so well that it doesn't feel like, here's why this character is great and you might not have noticed, but more like, here's the fucking movie, you obviously know this if you watched it. But Beast isn't the only good character. All the inanimate objects are quite endearing, double so to me, which you'd understand if you know my channel history, and I do quite like Belle too. Gaston makes for a deliciously entertaining antagonist. How can a man with so little riz be such a Chad? He's so convincingly misogynistic, he almost made me believe that white women exist. And the final battle with him and the Beast, for as simple as it is compared to, like, I don't know, the complexity of the writing in Artoria vs. Diarmuid from Fate Zero, love that show, it's just so stunning visually. I'm running out of words, it's hard to be this positive, I'm only 4 entries in. I like this movie. It's heartwarming seeing the two leads come together, not even just like romantically, just like as friends at first. And the songs are cool. I do have a few issues with it though, not the whole Stockholm Syndrome thing, I don't care. I mean that, like, there's this point in this movie where 3 songs kind of play back to back to back, and that just felt really weird to me. And I wasn't really in the mood for the fake out death at the end. And what the fuck is wrong with Human Beast's face? He just looks weird. I mean, I ain't a furry, but I completely understand why someone who likes sexy men would prefer blueless Sully over here. These aren't huge problems, it's just that with a ranking this stacked, minor problems like that do end up factoring heavily. I can see why someone would say this is their favorite of Disney's lineup, at least from what I've seen. It's gorgeous visually, it's full of great performances, its pacing is mostly pretty flawless, the characters are good, the story is good, and coming off of Pinocchio, the last Disney film I watched, it's nice to see the changes to the source material being, let's make Beauty into more of a character, give her a real name, and also make her cool, instead of, let's just make it worse actually, and also the dogfish is a whale now. With this early in, and like, these movies are so banging, is this what watching good movies feels like?
She's attacking me with water!
Moana is a movie that I do not know if I'd seen before watching it for this video. I am ranking like all of Shay's favorite movies near the bottom. I genuinely just couldn't and still don't remember, but now that I know for a fact that I've watched it, yeah, it's pretty good. It's a really fun, really enjoyable, genuinely pretty beautiful movie that has a lot going for it. Moana in particular is a great protagonist, constantly moving forward but never in a way that drops the genuine anxiety and worries a human would have. The way she grows and then improves and becomes a stronger person and ends up not needing Maui's raw power to save the day in place of her own smarts and refusal to give up, it's a really solid arc and a really solid story. Maui as well is very lovable. I really like that the context of his arrogance is given enough to make you really get that, yeah, being away from humans for 1,000 years and not knowing the consequences of his actions would mean that he has no reason to believe that anyone wouldn't adore him. Everything the humans of this world rely on was given by Maui. He gave them all the things that they consider life and makes living possible. Why wouldn't he be adored? And as he slowly learns the consequences of his actions, how his story has been overshadowed by his theft of the heart with time, and realizes that he's not been the hero he's supposed to be over the course of the movie, it's really good stuff. He gives the movie its best action scenes. That said, his return at the end is really fucking weird. Like, they could have either had him say something about why he came back, or had a scene of him boating away, he looks at his fish hook, when Tekka bursts out, he's so big he can see it from the horizon. Maybe he'll look at it again and realize he's been kind of shitty and abandoning Moana like that. Like, yeah, his actual reunion wouldn't be as big as a, oh shit, he's back moment, but it would also prevent it from being a, wait, why did he come back moment. The story has a few random occurrences that really didn't feel like they amounted to much, but I genuinely didn't mind. And I like that the ocean could have given Tekka her heart back, but the movie does need to spell out that it doesn't, because it wants Maui and the humans that he stole it for to make up for the crime they committed, and also doubly wants to Moana's people to go back and refine their wayfinder ways and begin being voyagers and explorers again. Like, the ocean could have solved everything, and instead of that being a plot hole, it's like, you wonder, why doesn't the ocean just solve it all? But by the end, you realize, oh, that's why, and that's really cool. It feels at some points like it's going to be some kind of plot hole, but it all comes around and fills back in again. Like water does. That's not in the script, that was... shut up. I really like that Maui's main role isn't to save the day, kick ass, and defeat the monster, but actually to teach Moana how to sail and find her path, and put her into scenarios that require her to truly find herself and grow. Not only is it a bit more refreshing, it also puts forth the best parts of Maui as a figure of Islander folklore. Not his raw strength and how badass and cool he is, but the way in which, throughout their belief, he teached and aided humanity and gave them valuable lessons in spite of his trickster and silly nature. It's something that you don't see a lot. Like, a lot of the times you see the Monkey King in media, they really ham up just how really strong he is, and none of the important aspects of his character and what he means as a figure. But in Moana, they actually did really put the effort in to make it so that Maui's raw strength and ability to fight is not the most important part about him, but who he is. It's not the most groundbreaking movie to me. I think it's a pretty standard Disney fare, but it's a solid reminder that there once was a time where Disney's standard fare was really good content and not whatever they do today. Oh yeah, the funny turtle was pretty great though. I have no idea why the movie keeps trying to convince me he's a crab. That's obviously a turtle.
In Spain, it's Family Fuego. And in Vin Diesel, it's family.
Lilo and Stitch is a movie that gets better every time I watch it. I love this movie. I always have. It's cute, it's warm, it's fun and silly, but also relatable and complex. Few films, animated or otherwise, truly capture the feeling of a family better than this. And like, yeah, you'd fucking hope of all movies this one captures the feeling of family. Lilo and Nani truly do care for one another, but they bicker and fight and make up after just as family does. Their struggles are understandable and relatable. Every character, no matter how one note they may initially seem, come around to feeling human. They feel real. Bubbles, for instance, could have easily just been what he fronts, a no-nonsense arsehole who wants to tear Nani from Lilo. Wait, that's the other way around. But no, he's a real person. The moment the need to put out that front to motivate Nani is gone, he drops the act and just acts like a person. He only gets mad when he sees their house explode and sees that Lilo could have died. Which, like, you know, their house exploded and the child could have died. I think that's fairly reasonable to get a bit upset. He tries his best to be kind and warm and reasonable about a decision he doesn't like having to make, but he believes is best. The chairwoman might seem like a one-note, rules-following prick, but she understands and sees Stitch's growth since they first met, and the moment a loophole shows up to let Stitch stay with his family, she takes it, because she is a good person at heart. Jumba is constantly curious and watching Stitch, desiring to know about what's happening. Even Gantu is at its best here, both being a ridiculously intimidating threat who feels bigger than he is, and he's still pretty big. But you can see that he genuinely just is following the law. Though the line about Lilo in the capsule is a bit weird. At the heart of this movie is the relationship between Lilo and Stitch. The movie isn't called Mr. Bubbles and Nani after all, and their relationship is perfect. It feels so believable. The way that Stitch slowly grows, the way that Lilo tries so hard, gets mad, forgives, and tries again. And she only really gets angry when she finds out Stitch was an alien like the fuckers who just blew up her house the entire time. And he was lying to her the whole film. And right as the movie sets up its crappy third act breakup, Gantu immediately shows up and gets the plot going in a different direction, and it's resolved in a very fun way without feeling frustrating. What the fuck, that was so good! The movie is so good, it's so fun and wild and exciting. More than anything, this film truly has heart, tons of heart. It loves what it is. It loves its characters, it loves Hawaiian culture, it loves the story it's telling. It's a movie with heart and a movie with love, and what more could you ever ask for? A phenomenal time that I well and truly adore, and I'm so happy to have an excuse to go back and rewatch this. It's a little sad to rank it so low, because, well... Mad Max Fury Road! Represent Australia! Aussie, Aussie, Aussie! Oi, oi, oi! Anyway, Mad Max Fury Road is definitely not the most emotionally powerful or complex thing on this list. If we rank this on story and emotional strength, this would not at all get above even Beauty. It would not get above Beauty and the Beast. It would not get above Lilo and... This would be like near the bottom. ranked on purely story and emotional strength. It wouldn't be the exact bottom, but it would be around there. But there is no movie on this list that can match this film in balls to the wall, complete and utter bullshit fun nonsense. It's an action movie fan's action movie. I love action movies that are just nonsense bullshit insanity, like the Crank films or even Shoot 'em Up, and Fury Road is one of the best, with cool enough people on people battles, but stunning car chases and action set pieces that boggle the mind. This feels like truly what happens if you were to just play an Akadaka album next to an Australian and then peered into our mind. Nothing but adrenaline-fueled insanity. And while I say that it doesn't have the most emotionally powerful or complex story, I'm not saying it doesn't have one. The movie has such, let's say, fascinating world building, in that it explains the what. You get a good idea on the what is, but if you want the why as to the what, it promptly flips you off and tells you to shut up. You get to see the world as it is. You get to see the society built here, what they believe, the things they follow, and the unfairness of it all. You're not told how it came to be this way, it just is, which does kind of put you in Max's shoes throughout this. For as little as you learn about Furiosa, she is such an intriguing character, and Max himself, for as little as he honestly expresses throughout the film, also has a pretty cool arc of just not being a shitty. He returns a bit more to who he used to be as it goes on. I think everyone can recall the scene of Furiosa just screaming too. Nothing needs to be said from her. You just hear what she hears, and you understand purely from her reaction what kind of impact this has on her. You can see her hope shatter and be replaced with despair. But this overall story of a group of women just trying to escape to a paradise they can't be sure exists, only to find that it has long since died out, and then that return to the hell they know and fixing it, it's genuinely compelling. The question of if a familiar hell is better than an unknown heaven, and whether you're better off running from the problem or standing your ground and doing what you can to fix it. Not to mention the goated Nux and his... My mind has been plagued by the internet. I say the goated Nux and I worry people think I'm saying Nux Taku is goated. The goated Nux and his pretty fun arc is great, and Impotent Joe is also a really fun villain despite having the emotional complexity and depth of a newly flushed toilet's upper deck. Sometimes a villain that is just kind of an unexplained and inexplicable asshole works, and boy does it fucking work. And yeah, it's also pretty cool to see such a large cast of female characters who kick ass without trying to be like, haha, look, this is the moment the women become as cool as the men. No, the movie is just like, these women were always cool and always kicked ass. All this means that despite being a non-stop action schlockfest, there is enough compelling characterization, stupidly over-the-top but entertaining world building, and a genuinely interesting story being weaved in to make sure you never get bored, you never get tired of the action, and you have a reason to watch this beyond the cool stuff happening on screen. You know, which is helped by the sheer variety of stuff happening, and how it just keeps inventing new stupid ways to do ridiculous action bits. Ross the Boss over here is on some shit, I love it. Wait, you guys probably don't know who Ross the Boss is. What's a famous metal guitar? Slash over here is on some shit. I love it.
Your dad and I agreed it would be best if you just stop being who you are and doing the things you love.
Whisper of the Heart does not deserve to be where it is. This movie is something special. It's something exceptional. It's a movie that does almost everything flawlessly. It's so good that the original manga's author prefers it to their manga. It's a film that captures a perfectly cozy and real feeling. It's a movie that manages to make the constant use of fucking country road not only really fun and heartfelt, but into one of the most genuinely heartwarming and charming scenes ever animated. It's a movie that defies my own personal taste in film by giving me a movie that's focused on romance and teen drama, two things I just normally am not looking for in my movies, and manages to make me give a shit. That's something I can't imagine anyone short of Studio Ghibli pulling off. This movie has so much to say that really connects with me. Ideas of never giving up on what you want to do, on finding your path in life and sticking to it, on not letting yourself be beaten by the thought that those around you who you care about are so much more put together and know what they're doing, because in truth everyone around you is just as lost in the sea of nonsense that is reality, and doing nothing but trying to make sense of the senseless. It's a truly magical movie about life. It does what so many slice of life movies do, but with a level of care, love, and genuinely engaging character writing and relatable but not overdramatic stakes that I believe it. Short of the kind of abrupt ending, the movie is flawless, but it ranks lower than it should for very personal reasons. People love this film for a lot of reasons, But one of them is because a lot of people relate so hard to the protagonist. People relate to that feeling of anxiety, that lack of belief in themselves and what they make, that constant feeling that they're not good enough, especially compared to those around them. The thought that everyone you know is so amazing that you feel inadequate in comparison. But for me personally, and I will admit this is solely a me thing, and this might sound ridiculous, I'm aware, but there is a point where a character, I feel, for me becomes too relatable. A point where I truly see myself and who I am within them. But I don't talk about it much, but I've always suffered from a severe sense of self-loathing. Not just the thought that I'm not good enough, but the thought that I never have or will be even somewhat adequate, let alone good enough. I've almost never genuinely thought well of myself. I didn't grow up in an environment that ever made me feel good about who I am, what I want to do. I do relate to Shizuku. I do feel the same thing she does. If you're watching this video and you know me as a creator, you probably know at least some of the people I'm friends with that have appeared on this channel or been mentioned, and I can't help but admit to myself that I'm constantly comparing me negatively to them, their accomplishments, what they've done. I know it's irrational. I hate myself for not being able to think otherwise. I can't control how I feel at the best of times, let alone times like this. And when I look at Shizuku and I see myself, I just hate her. I hate her because she reminds me too much of me. I don't like who me is. I just can't. Shizuku is a character that I, admittedly extremely unfairly, I understand it, unfairly, consider too relatable for me to actually like her. I watch her scenes sometimes and I hate them and feel deeply unpleasant because I know for a fact that she's just done what I would do and what I in the past have done. Especially just that moment of sharing her work and then refusing to be there when it's being read and hiding away. That fucking got me. It destroyed me because that's what I do all the time. That moment was the moment that Shizuku truly stopped looking like Shizuku to me and started being a mirror, and I don't like that. I don't like seeing myself to this extent in media because I can't help but see her as irrational and stupid because that's what I am. This is a movie that's fundamentally nearly flawless. It's so gorgeous. Its scenes are so fun and lifelike. The art is amazing. The story is amazing. The characters are amazing. God, even the romance is amazing. But my own personal feelings about myself and who I am, how I see myself in this film, brings it down. And I have to keep saying, it's unfair. I don't need people in the comments telling me that it's unfair to rank it lower because of this. I won't deny the movie deserves to be higher. This movie is phenomenal in almost every way. It accomplishes so much in its runtime that no movie has any right to having this level of quality. But it's a movie I don't think I'll ever be able to bring myself to watch again, because it hurts me to watch. I am not an emotionally strong person. I never have been, I never will be. Among the many things that fucked with my future when growing up was that constant men don't show emotions attitude that has pretty much permanently stunted my ability to not only control but recognize my emotions and how I feel on a day-to-day basis. Part of why I like doing reviews is because I get to overthink about how I feel and actually figure out what I feel about a piece of media. It doesn't always just come to me upon a first, second, third watch unless I really think about it, and then I realize that's what I felt. I wish I could give this movie all the love it deserves. I wish I was the kind of person who could see myself in a piece of media and feel closer to it, to really love it for representing me in such a perfect way as this film does. But that's not who I am, and that's not who I'll ever be. There are certainly times where I'll relate to a character in a way that makes me love them more. Hell, in a previous ranking, I talked about how, of all characters, I relate to the funny leather jacket wearing pony who is now a human, Sunset Shimmer. At least, I think I did. If I didn't, then that was a colossal fuck up, but I do love her so much for that. But it's also because she never crossed the line of being too good the way Shizuku does. I want more people to talk about and show they love this film, because I hate the fact that I can't give it what it deserves. That I can't gush about everything the movie does right and how phenomenally fantastic it is. It fucking eats me up inside. I can't help that. I do, at some level, love this movie, but it deserves something I just can't give it. Please, if you love Whisper of the Heart, I don't need you going in telling me I'm being unfair or that it's irrational to think this way. I know that. I know I shouldn't be this way and that I'm in the wrong here. Just talk about how much you love the movie. Seriously, drop a whole paragraph in the comment section about how much you love Whisper of the Heart, because I want to see it. I want to see people truly giving this movie the respect it deserves. Or maybe my favorite Schaffrillas segment ever is his one on this movie, because it's so good. I can't do that though, and I wish I could. Anyway, like, this is where the movies become 10 out of 10s for me. Like, it is a 10 out of 10 movie. And we're here at the ranking. Yeah. 10 out of 10s being the same ranking I give to G Fuel, the sponsor of this video. You're gonna skip this segment. Why do I ever put the effort in? I don't even know what the bid for this one can be. Wait, I know. Do you want a collection of movies like this, unorganized for the most part and all over the place? Well, too bad, because with G Fuel, your cheat code in the can, you'll have the energy needed to actually organize your bloody house. It has 0 carbs, 0 calories, and 0 carbohydrates, but full of antioxidants and caffeine. Just like behind this Lego box, I have a shelf of even more movies. Don't let anyone under the age of 18 drink it though, just like they shouldn't watch these horror films. Due to the caffeine, you should drink responsibly too. Just like how I once responsibly tried to put all the MCU films in order, and then after Endgame stopped caring. If you want the ability to beat this massive pile of video games that make up half of my backlog of stuff I need to play, you should head to the link in the description and use code BLOODRIGHT for 20% off your order. Here's the Switch section, by the way. I still need to finish Xenoblade.
Super Schindler's List 3D?
You know how there are just movies that you respect or recognize the quality of, but can't personally enjoy? Just films that you know are as good as everyone says, but you wouldn't be able to say is one of your favorites of all time. Great example of films that can be like that for people, in my experience, are stuff like Citizen Kane and Psycho. I know plenty of people who respect those films and consider them among the best, but wouldn't be able to call them favorites because they don't personally get a lot out of them. And for me, that's what Schindler's List is. From a purely objective standpoint, I think this is by far, the best movie on this list. There is only the one I actually have ranked at first that I think can compete, and I still think Schindler's List would clear. It's a devastatingly powerful movie. A movie that doesn't shy away from how honestly cartoonishly evil the villains of World War II were, while presenting it in such a harrowingly dehumanizing and callous way that it never lets you forget that these aren't cartoon villains written to embody evil. These were real people who really did this shit. Stuff that is so inhumanly cruel and uncaring that it's almost impossible to fathom that there were those who did this, accepted it, and is a traditional Jewish sign of respect for the dead, the idea being that rocks are eternal, unlike flowers and all that, and ending with the man who played Schindler himself in this movie paying his respects too. The sheer power of this film cannot be understated. You can feel not only the power this has on you, but the power this had on Spielberg and those involved in the creation of this movie. There's so many things that stick out, that are striking. The girl in red and the candles giving color to a grayscale world. The movie beginning and ending in color while the majority of it is black and white. And how it feels like the actions of the loser of the second epic rap battle literally snuff the color and hope out of the entire world while only showing us this small window. Just the fact and knowledge that this movie gives us only the smallest glimpse, and it lets us know that no, there's a lot more happening that we just do not get to see. The fact that The most notable times that music plays in this movie that's not sung by the Jews themselves is accompanying horrific tragedies. It digs in that for the people performing those tragedies, this was casual, this was easy for them. They just kind of did it and didn't think about it. But for as amazing as this movie is, it's not a movie that I think I'll ever watch again. It is powerful, it is devastating, but that's not what I really look for in my films. And I understand that. This is not the kind of story that I should be enjoying and getting into. I don't think this movie should be more fun. I don't think it should have more entertainment. I don't think it should have compelling, snappy scenes or comedy or engaging back and forth interactions between characters. My preferences in movies do not belong in this story. It would go against the entire point of the movie. It would destroy the movie. It's a movie that, by design, I cannot enjoy the way I do with almost any other movie, because it is the rawest expression of a horrible time in human history told through the vision of one of the greatest directors to walk the earth. This is a movie I respect a lot, that I recognize the quality of, but it's not one that I enjoy watching, and honestly I don't think you should be enjoying it until like at the end maybe where everything works out. This is a movie about suffering, not suffering used for exploitative purposes or to drum controversy in the media or to get money, but suffering used to ensure that we never forget the true horrors of what happened. But it's also a 2 out of 10 because it doesn't have an ending where two guys talk about the arrival of a new superpower named Joseph to hook me on the upcoming sequel in the atrocities of mankind's cinematic universe.
Premature jubilation. Premature jubilation. Premature jubilation.
Premature jubilation.
The Incredibles is a movie that I can't believe I thought was just okay like half a decade ago. Watching it now, it's honestly astounding I ever could have thought that, because this is just a fantastic movie. It's the Fantastic Four movie we never got because Marvel doesn't know how to adapt the first family. This is what some would call a superhero movie, but what you'd more accurately call a family drama wrapped in the foundations of a superhero storyline. And by that I mean, it's equal parts about the dynamic of the family, how they go about their lives, the strangeness of the relationship between Helen and Bob and how their kids handle it, as it is about superheroes and how society has come to view them. While some look at the boys and see, now this is a realistic depiction of how people with powers could be, I look at it and I see, no, it's just a great commentary on how society and corporations would go about things if superheroes were around. Incredibles, though, does kind of feel like a realistic depiction of people with powers. Yes, there would be bad ones, but there are also people who are just good people. But the moment one person has a go and the public realizes they can exploit them, it just spirals until they have to go away. Okay, maybe realistic is too strong a word, but you know what I mean. The movie grounds superheroes with ridiculous powers in such a powerful way. Why'd I write it like that? Just having them taken out by legal proceedings. Because, yeah, superheroes who abide by the law and want to do good probably would be beaten by the law that they abide by. And while the superheroing is a great framework for exciting action sequences, thrilling infiltration scenes, exhilarating chases, and tons of cool cape shit nonsense that's really fun, the superheroing itself works as a stand-in for any number of things. Because in the end, what the superheroing is there for is to be the thing that brought two lovers together, that they both had to leave behind for the life they have now. It's applicable to people in a really relatable way. I can think of things that brought me and my friends together, and if there came a time where we just outgrew those things and those hobbies, how would I feel about that? Would I be able to just let go of stuff that I've built how I view myself as a person around, even for people I care about? Like for me, I got this community because of my commentary on the versus side of things, like versus debating, Death Battle. That's where most of my fan base is. If I stopped caring about Death Battle and I moved on, how would that affect me? How would I see myself if I didn't have Death Battle to really think this is what I make content on? What would I think about my content? I mean, I'm trying to expand my bubble a bit here. You know, would love if I could make ranking videos as well. I don't know. And obviously, it's not one-to-one, but I personally do see that general idea within the narrative of The Incredibles. There's also sometimes just such a real feeling with the dialogue that can make the movie uncomfortable at times. Like the way in which the Pars argue quietly and just get louder and louder, the pacing and the dialogue, it's genuinely uncomfortable because it feels so real. This is how lovers argue, and as someone who, you know, had parents, arguments did happen sometimes like this and they were often uncomfortable. My parents are still together though, so they worked it out in the end. But of course the movie is not just an engaging and relatable family drama that comments about how things that bring you together can affect the relationship when they go away. It's also just really fun and has fantastic pacing. I cannot fathom why I used to think the pacing was bad. It's objectively not. The movie takes its time where it should, it speeds through the stuff that doesn't need to be shown in great detail, just given to us so we have an idea of time passing. The movie manages to feel both like it builds up well to the superhero scene, so you sit there going, oh hell yeah, it's finally here, without ever feeling like it's building up to that, you know? Terrible way to explain it, but a lot of the action and excitement doesn't feel like superheroing for most of the movie. The start does and the end does, but between that come scenes that almost feel more like superpowered spy thrillers. God, it's hard to explain. But when the paths finally come together as a family and kick ass, it feels earned and exciting and satisfying. Extra when the fight in the city comes around and Frozone gets involved. What can I say, the movie is a delight. It's a delightful superhero film, but more importantly, it's a delightful family film. It's a movie about family that uses superheroes as the medium to get you invested in the family. It's a one-of-a-kind movie, one that I honestly only keep this far down because I don't have a particular personal attachment to it. This is probably the highest movie that's here solely because it's so fucking good, and not anything personal.
Guess what? You are a G-MILF. That is a grandmother that I would like.
Okay, well, it's not. There is one that I like more for how good it is without having a personal history and attachment to it. By far, my favorite movie that I'd not seen beforehand in this whole thing was The Grand Budapest Hotel. The movie is just so damn fun. It's one of the most entertaining movies I think I've ever seen, with some of the most strikingly engaging and fun direction that constantly feels just slightly off in the perfect way. The usage of models and this often very side-on sort of filming really helps sell this weird esoteric story that you really can't validify the truth in. I think the movie in general says a lot about the value of stories, not the value of like the truth and factual history, but the value of stories. Sure, maybe the story that we're being told is not really what happened with Zero. This is obviously not the full picture. Stuff is glossed over, because he's telling this to someone over dinner and so on. But there are times where you almost get the impression that Zero is fudging it just a little bit to be a bit more engaging or whatnot. But even if that's the case, the movie pretty much says it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's entirely accurate. What matters is that it tells the heart and core of the story, the things that matter, and that's the true value of telling a story. Not telling the events as they happen, but conveying through those events, the characters and the way in which it's told, the emotions and meaning of the story. And the way it's filmed helps so much, because a lot of the time those scenes in the past are filmed almost in a way that looks like a dollhouse or a theater, or like You Are the Fourth Wall. It scrolls through like it's a show, you know? It's hard to explain. It looks like different rooms of a dollhouse that you're just scrolling by side, watching characters move between them, and that makes it feel fake, but in a way that perfectly fits in with that theming. But also, fuck, this is just a really fun movie. A lot of fantastic comedy, and the fact that celebrities will just spawn in, do one scene, then vanish for 10 minutes adds so much hilarity to it. Their performances are all great, the comedic deliveries are always perfect, and the timing is just flawless. There are so many great moments that I just can't stop thinking about. The cat, Dimitri Fire Emblem noticing the painting, the punches, the one that makes a slur part of an actually funny joke, Willem Dafoe getting the Boba Fett treatment. In fact, he just is Boba Fett, a really cool guy who kills people and is awesome and all that, doesn't say much, and then gets taken out by getting hit in the back and sent flying with a funny scream. This movie is full of non-stop laughs and fun, while giving us compelling characters with enjoyable arcs and relationships, and an entertaining murder mystery plot that never stops being fun as hell. There's so much to compliment, but it's one of those movies where you mostly just want to point in the direction of stuff you like and go, you gotta admit this is cool! So I'll just say, if you've watched this movie, you know why it's so amazing, and if you haven't, I'd recommend you give it a shot. You're only losing a small part of your day, and chances are you'll love it.
Time for a Miles Morales original, you know? One of one. That shit's ass, bro.
Talking about Into the Spider-Verse feels like a complete and utter waste of time. This movie is so obviously good that I feel like explaining it is akin to explaining that the sun is pretty warm. It's visually outstanding, it's narratively perfect, its characters are great, its villain is great, its pacing is great, its message is great. It's an amazing movie that captures everything good about Spider-Man, Peter, Miles, doesn't matter, either of them, both of them. A fucking amazing movie through and through. Miles is of course a spectacular character with great growth and a fantastic leap of faith scene that's maybe one of the most beautiful things ever. Peter B. Parker is a great interpretation of Spider-Man, being honestly maybe my favorite alternate version of a classic Marvel hero of all time. With very funny lines, consistently fun scenes, a great relationship with Miles that has a satisfying conclusion. Gwen is also great, and so are the other Spider people, but I really do think those two make the movie. But those other Spider people just go to show the amazing animation of this movie even better, with them each looking like they come from entirely different realities that are just incongruent with the visual style of Miles' world. Yeah, it's a bit weird that Gwen and Peter look like they fit pretty much perfectly in Miles' world, while these three look a lot more out there, but I just tend to accept that as, you know, these two are from less out there worlds than Anime Land, Looney Tunes Land, and Noir Land. This movie just has so much self-aware humor that should be cringe, but it's delivered in ways that actually make them funny. And, oh, the action's so good. The action's so fucking good! Everything is so full of life, the camera work is great, the comic panel effects are just stellar. I'm lost! I've been too positive all video. Can I go back to complaining and telling you how you can improve on something? Like, how do you describe a movie like Into the Spider-Verse? Visionary, artistic, yes, it's all of those. Every positive word you could have for a film can be thrown at this movie. It's stunningly good, it's impossibly good. It gets pretty much nothing wrong. I love it for that. Godspeed, Spider-Verse. Let's bring the trilogy home, okay?
Booster Gold!
How can two phenomenal, groundbreaking, and truly amazing movies with such emotional depth and power, like The Dark Knight and Spider-Verse, come from fucking DC Comics and Marvel Comics? These today are synonymous with factory churned out slop that just wants to make money on the names featured in the based on text. But these films are just extraordinary. Give it 5 minutes and I'll swap the placement of these films because it just keeps changing for me. I'm gonna settle on this one though because I flipped a coin. The Dark Knight is one of the greatest superhero films ever made, at least in my opinion. With an exceedingly compelling story, great characters, and oh god, how repetitive is this video? I don't have movies to shit on. How the fuck am I going to make this video entertaining just reciting the same points over and over again? Oh my god. This is going to be the most dull fucking video ever because all I'm doing is being positive and just repeating the same words over and over again. The Dark Knight's greatest strength to me is probably its pacing. It's a movie that perfectly balances its moments of levity, character, action, and tension. It gives you all you could want in a Batman film, including Bruce Wayne actually getting to have plenty of cool scenes. I think a lot of films in general focus a lot more on Batman, but this does give good focus to Bruce as well. And the triangle made by Batman, Gordon, and Harvey I think is genuinely really interesting. 3 good men who want to change the city for the better through their different methods and views. But in the end, despite Joker's plan technically failing, he kinda gets his win in a sense. Yeah, Harvey's image didn't break as a result of his actions, but it did break Batman in a way that he hadn't been before, and it fractures the city's relationship with one beacon of hope while getting the other killed. The cost of fighting anarchy is so great that you're almost left wondering how worth it really was. And yeah, Joker, I mean, you know, great performance, great character, great everything. He isn't necessarily the perfect adaptation of the character. I think Hamill gets across the insanity but also comedy of the character the best with his performance. But it also makes me think that a truly comic accurate Joker just might not be possible in live action. But Ledger's interpretation of the Joker is by far the most chilling, compelling, and interesting one I've ever seen. It's fantastic. He's probably one of the most quoted characters on this entire list. He's going to be up there with like Darth Vader and that's it. The character was and is huge, and rest in peace to the legend that made it so. The Dark Knight does almost nothing wrong. The action is great and even manages to make some genuinely badass lines come from that silly Batman voice. But yeah, its biggest problem to me, the Nolan Batman voice is just really dumb. There's a reason the only thing more overplayed than "Why so serious?" parodies is Nolan Batman voice parodies. Despite it being by far the exception and not the norm amongst Batman voices, it might actually be the most well-known stereotype of a Batman voice just because of how dumb it can often sound. But aside from that, this is a fucking spectacular film, an almost flawless, majestic, magical movie that succeeds in everything it tries to be. Truly a masterpiece of cinema, and I still can't decide if I prefer The Batman or not, because that's also a great movie.
Who is your daddy, and what does he do?
Star Wars Episode 5 The Empire Strikes Back, also known as the movie formerly known as The Empire Strikes Back, is my favorite movie on this list. It's only ranked here, but it is my absolute favorite. I couldn't rank it at the top because, to an extent, I think it's a movie that most of my love for comes from my adoration of the franchise more than the film itself. And I'll be honest, The Dark Knight, Into the Spider-Verse, and this movie, they may as well be sharing third place because they can and actively have been swapping places as the days went on. I could not update Biffweed on my full ranking in DMs because it kept changing as I wrote segments. Even as I'm recording, I'm sure even as I'm editing, I'm swapping them around in my head, but this is probably sitting at third because it's my personal favorite, not because I think it's the third best objectively. That's not to say the movie isn't amazing. The Empire Strikes Back is a simply fantastic movie. It captures everything great about Star Wars as a franchise just within its runtime. It has exciting space action, amazing character writing, whimsical storytelling, wondrous world building, so much more. It's a movie that succeeds in putting all sorts of unbelievably great things together and working them, starting with the exciting action scene on Hoth that was so incredible, and ending with one of the best written fights in the series, Luke and Vader. Between Luke and Vader, I left a whole word out there. Every character, every scene, there's something to love. It canonized black people in Star Wars, and Lando is amazing, simply put. I don't even really know how to go about describing a movie like Empire Strikes Back, I'm realizing. It's a movie that I just love, and not because it's so good the way half of these have been, but because it's a movie that I just kind of love. I just kind of adore it. I adore Yoda and his characterization. He feels like a perfect combination of an unknowably wise master of the arts and spirituality and a complete goofball. The Vader father plot twist, I just love it. It's one of the greatest of all time and delivered flawlessly. The ending is tragic and dour. The Empire has basically won, but the heroes aren't out for the count yet. There's a glimmer of hope for the future. With only a handful of appearances, Boba Fett cemented himself as an icon of cinema solely for his design, memorable voice, and great aura. And the movie is non-stop excitement. There's always something happening, some tension and feeling of anticipation of what's next. When the movie takes a break, it's still within a situation that feels like it could become more perilous, or something where you just wonder about whether or not things will work out in time. Not to mention the Luke cave scene. I like that scene. In general, the stuff on Dagobah is some of the most important stuff in all of Star Wars. This is the movie that made the Force. You are only told so much throughout this film, but through the visual storytelling and crumbs of information, the Force was expanded into something that captures the feeling that religious spiritualism has. It's so good. I really just can't explain why I love The Empire Strikes Back. It's a movie that I've grown up loving, that I've always adored. This movie and its predecessor, A New Hope, are among the hardest movies for me to explain my love for. It's like explaining why your favorite color is what it is, or why your favorite food is what it is. Because sometimes the explanation to why you love something isn't and doesn't have to be any deeper than because I do. That's not to say there's anything wrong with trying to articulate yourself, especially if in a discussion with someone who may disagree or simply not hold something to quite the same esteem, you'd want to explain yourself better. But there are just some things that can't be explained. Now, looking at it critically, I couldn't put it above here though, because it has more noticeable flaws than most of the movies around it. Like, it doesn't have the most conclusive ending due to it being the second part of a trilogy. Even then, it's still such a good ending, while not being conclusive. How did it manage? I don't know. But I love The Empire Strikes Back, and honestly, most of this list. The Prince of Egypt is a movie that defies all logic. It defies the laws of physics by being a movie so fundamentally Christian, but also being completely applicable to people of all faiths. It's a film that understands the values of Christianity innately and puts that above the exact doctrine to reach its hand out to so many more people than would have been possible. The story of Moses is not one new to adaptation, but I don't think it's ever been handled so well. The film knows when it needs to differentiate itself from canonical text and when to stick to it. It offers a far more deep and enthrallingly epic narrative than I've ever seen from a biblical adaptation, capturing equal parts the wonder and awe as well as the terrifying almighty power of God. But what it captures best to me is human nature. Ramesses II is one of the most lauded villains in all of animation, and in my opinion, it's entirely deserved. Ramesses is such an interesting and deep villain, and I think that a lot of that is just the ways in which he's convinced and molded into what he is. The movie could easily take the road that a lot of films do, like a movie I love, Django Unchained. Still love it, and I think Leonardo DiCaprio is really fun as the villain, but he's so over the top that he feels unreal. They didn't go that route. In adding a human element to the slave-owning pharaoh, not only does it make him more compelling, it also makes him so much more chilling. Your classical, fantastically racist, over-the-top evil slave owner does work. It does remind you, yeah, shockingly enough, owning slaves is bad. But Ramesses genuinely unnerves me because he reminds me these people did exist. People who knew to an extent that what they were doing was wrong, but chose to do it anyway and convinced themselves that it was right. That people different to them deserved less rights. That there are people today who still believe this and use these justifications to support their discriminatory beliefs. And the line from Ramesses' father earlier in the movie, talking about his own feelings and genuinely showing a degree of remorse for his genocide of babies, adds to that. It reminds you that these pharaohs weren't born evil. They were born just as innocent as the slaves they would go on to own, but they were molded and groomed into monsters by rhetoric and tradition into being horrible people who did horrible things. In humanizing the slave-owning genocidal monster, it reminds you these people weren't just cartoon characters, ironically enough. They weren't just pure evil, mindless monsters. They were real, living, breathing people who convinced themselves that they were correct, and that brings a chill down my spine more than any pure evil character could. And for as good and compelling as Ramesses is as a villain, I oftentimes think that Moses gets left out of the discussion about the qualities of this movie. Instead of the anger-prone man in the Bible, Moses is portrayed as a very believable person who is part of that system, and only through happenstance manages to be turned to realizing that his family is doing wrong. His relationship with Ramesses is so well developed. His growth into a clumsy but well-meaning leader of the people is believable, and his romance, despite only being shown in a montage, is so real. One thing I especially love is how the film describes the two outlooks of our lead characters. Ramesses sees himself as a link in a chain. If he breaks, the whole thing comes crumbling down. He needs to be strong so the next link can be forged. But Moses sees himself as a thread in a tapestry. No matter how much he himself does, he can never see the totality of what is going on. He chooses to do what he thinks is right because he wants to benefit that whole, not because he's special. And how could you not love the guy when you have the expressive wonder in his body language after coming back from the burning bush? I mean, come on! It's so unreal how good this film is, genuinely. Every song is good, and I genuinely feel myself getting emotional to most of them. The animation is gorgeous, expressive, and alive, and all drawn so that on side-on angles they evoke the direct imagery of ancient Egyptian artwork. It captures the sense of wonder better than almost any movie on this list. The burning bush, the parting of the ocean, even the angel of death is simultaneously gorgeous and mesmerizing, yet also horrifying. The movie doesn't hold back. It depicts the horrors of what the Egyptians did to the Hebrews without once showing an ounce of blood or gore, and it does it perfectly. But it also shows off the sheer dread brought on by the 10 plagues. These horrifying things that destroyed a nation, even harming the innocents, because the man in charge chooses not to simply give people their rights. Moses' regrets about what he's tasked to do add such a tragedy to the character and the situation, and he also goes with my favorite interpretation of the hardened heart, that being that God rightfully accepted the free will made choice of Ramesses to harden his heart and refuse to give in. Because it makes everything come together, and it feels so right for this version of Ramesses. We miss so much of his life while Moses is away, but you can just imagine from what we saw prior the amount of pain he went through that molded him into this monster. What a movie, what a movie! It's a movie that I don't think could exist these days. With the internet as it is, adding a human element to someone who does what Ramesses does would not be seen as a realistically chilling depiction of horrible people, but somehow as a glorification of them. Companies don't want that kind of controversy, and I understand to an extent with how society can be towards stuff like this. And that's not some kind of attempt to attack society and culture, we're too PC. I'm just saying that media literacy is in the barrel right now. But to me, this is my ideal way of handling a story like this. It doesn't sugarcoat it. It doesn't lie about the ramifications and the implication of the story it presents. It doesn't fuck around. It tells a fantastic, perfect, simply stunning story in a perfect way, marrying equal parts the horror, wonder, and mesmerizing whimsy of the story. I simply love The Prince of Egypt. Describing Spirited Away feels like an impossible task, like explaining a color to a blind person, a sound to a deaf person, common sense to a Twitter user. It's a movie that I think sounds worse than it is the more you describe it, because everything it does is impossible. It's a movie that's description makes it sound overambitious, pretentious, and cluttered, like a pile of random ideas and thoughts melded together into abject nonsense. And that's what makes it so special. It is akin to explaining an emotion in exact terms. You can explain the chemistry of how an emotion comes to be, the purpose of the emotion in survival, the responses the body makes to those emotions. but you can never truly explain how it is to feel an emotion, and that's what Spirited Away is to me. It's a movie about greed, about growing up, capitalism, environmentalism, the loss of identity and the growing tide of commercialization, the impact of foreign cultures and how they can destroy or obfuscate what's native, entering the workforce, the value of what we do not immediately see, generationalism, all these topics that could be talked about for hours on end, yet somehow have been perfectly addressed and given depth within an only 2-hour-long film. We see how greed affects others. We see the capitalistic system that has led to that greed and is responsible for breaking people until all they value is the money they need just to survive the next day. How the system cultivates greed, because without that greed, you're just not going to have the money necessary to live the next day. We see how entering the workforce takes away a person's identity and who they are. They stop being them. They start being what the company decides they are, turning them into another brick in the wall to make money for whatever greedy corporation they're under. It's also no mistake that the one character dressed in Western attire within the spirit world is the one on top, and her twin sister. The spirit world itself is so magical in every way. It's an amazing world that never talks down to the viewer. What we learn outright is what our protagonist would naturally ask about, and everything else we can pick up for ourselves. We don't need a lengthy explanation about the meaning and symbolism behind every single yokai and spirit, just the basics that matter in the moment at best, and nothing at worst because it's not relevant. The specific details of the meaning behind each spirit is not important to the overall theme and narrative, and I think that is part of what makes Spirited Away so accessible to all different cultures. These creatures and spirits are foreign to many people, but that adds to the otherworldly wonder, I think. Because what matters more is the nature of the spirit world, the relatable things like the need to work, the classes system, and so on, which can be understood and related to by everyone. The invisibility of the spirit world, but its clear importance with spirits of the lake and rivers and nature, also gives what might be one of the most accessible environmentalist messages put to film. There are people who don't buy humanity's impact on the world because they can't see it directly. But just because something cannot be seen directly doesn't mean it should just be ignored. Why should humanity risk the well-being of themselves and others on the assumption that, oh well, it can't be us because we can't see it happening directly? The idea of an invisible world that is affected negatively by human influence can apply to nature, the ecosystem, the world, the climate, so on. It's a parallel to so many things, not even environmentally. It can be taken as a parallel to cultures. Cultures that we don't see are being erased until it's too late. Cultures that should be respected because they are what makes other countries and communities so special, being taken out before we see it. It can apply to people. People who just aren't fortunate enough, who just get erased. They can't be seen. They're invisible to those higher up. Who cares? We don't see them dying. Why should we care? We should. We should. And Chihiro is a great protagonist. She's a character that by all means I should fucking hate. She's a whiny, crybaby little girl who never gets anything done until halfway through the movie. But there's something just relatable about her struggles. You can see her anxiety, you can see her hesitations, her fear. It's something that the average crybaby character that I just can't stand could probably stand to take things from. Making a character feel like a scared child is more than just making them wail and scream and cry. There's more to that kind of character than just the waterworks, and Chihiro is a prime example of that. The animation, the voice acting, and the dialogue, it does so much to make her feel like a real, living person. So I don't hate her despite being an archetype I don't like, because she feels real. This is how a child actually is, instead of a caricature of how jaded old people think children are. So I'm invested enough to stay with her until she matures and becomes a more confident person. It's such a great parallel to, as I mentioned before, entering the workforce, feeling like you've lost what makes you unique as you become a cog in the machine, being afraid to even ask for a job, the way that those in charge can look down on and not give new people a chance, and how that can stunt the workforce because, hey, Chihiro comes up with ideas that the other people who were there the whole time didn't, because she's new, she has a new perspective. But a lot of times companies don't want new people that don't have experience because they can't reliably trust them. They can't rely that, yeah, they're a newbie, but surely they can do good, because there's no proof of that, because they don't have a resume. I would know. I keep not getting jobs because I don't have much on my resume because nobody will give me a fucking chance. And I just can't stress enough, the most obviously good thing about this movie is the animation. Not just how fluid it is and how good the lighting and the effects are, and how good the backgrounds are, but also how good the character animation is. It feels like each character has a particular way they're animated. Chihiro is clumsy, like a person. She fumbles, she makes mistakes, she makes missteps. She always looks like she's kind of just winging it. It's animation that captures a real person better than probably any I've seen. It is nowhere near as clean as how most characters in animation move, or even in live action, where everything is rehearsed over and over again, so it just kind of looks like they're going through the motions sometimes. This is so real because it's so clumsy. Overbearing characters like Yubaba move very subtly most of the time. Slow, methodical movements, that's suddenly bursting into motion when provoked. Haku moves with a gentle, smooth grace. He always feels like he's putting in the least amount of effort, not out of laziness, but because that's all he needs to do. So when you see him thrashing around as a dragon, it emphasizes the situation. No Face has this unnatural sort of movement. He's almost not animated at all at points, just sliding around. It makes him so unnerving, but also endearing. Even amongst the world of spirits, he feels just as much of an outsider as Chihiro does. This is a character who at times almost doesn't look like he's animated at all, who gets so much out of the way he's animated! The animation feels alive. Everyone has a way of movement unique to them. Their facial animations play into it too. It adds a real feeling of life to a world that is so creatively ethereal and inhuman. This is a movie that could never work in live action. No matter how much I know someday, probably after Miyazaki passes, some company will try to make it live action to cash in on it. But this is a movie that plays so far into what makes animation unique, so much so that it can only be in animation. I've gone on and not even mentioned the soundtrack too. I can't play any of the music for you right now, but what is playing is music from NieR Replicant, my favorite OST of any video game, and I genuinely think the music of Spirited Away carries the same ethereal, emotional, and breathtaking warmth as Replicant's. Spirited Away is a movie that should not exist. It doesn't make sense. It should physically be impossible. But it's in front of me. It's here. It exists. The movie tackles so many subjects, all done well with elements that get you thinking, while focusing on a central character and her growth in this world. It's an impossibly good movie. I can't even show you footage because I'm gonna get copy struck. I hate that. I hate that I can't share with you these clips because it means anyone who hasn't had the chance to watch this movie beforehand won't get to see the kind of magic they're missing. This is a movie that you don't just watch and go, that was a good movie. This is a movie that once you watch for the first time, just like Chihiro, you can't just go back from it. It changes you. I wasn't the same person back in the day when I first watched this movie, and this movie made me think so much about myself, about my life, what I was doing, and it had an impact. It didn't spur me to change. It wasn't the catalyst that made me go down the path I have in life, but I know it was a part of that, a piece of the larger whole that made me who I am. I loved Spirited Away. It is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I love it with all of my heart. Kill me. This is what watching good movies feels like. Oh, it's so positive and hard to criticize and hard to fucking rank. I'll be honest, on my last 3 film rankings, the rankings tended to be fairly easy. There was a clear cutoff point between the bad Hasbro films and the other 6 ones. The bad, mediocre, good and great Pokemon films were all pretty clear to me, and aside from the hard to organize middle section of the LEGO films, that one was generally simple. This one was not. This one was hell. Choosing between movies that are all great, and aside from the bottom 3 films, ones that I can understand anyone placing at number 1 on their own personal list. If Schaffrillas ever happens to watch this, please go and do a ranking of only bad movies so I have an easy punching bag next time, yeah? Anyway, now I have 3 other film rankings I've already written up, 2 of which are sequels to videos already on YouTube, and 1 is a ranking of every Video Bring Quato blockbuster. You can't have this one, Shafe. As a Chinese man, it is my destiny to face what's up on my own terms. Definitely do Uwe Boll though. I'll cover all his tactful productions when I eventually rank every live action video game movie. Why did I just say that? I just put that on my to-do list. Oh my god. Oh, also subscribe to Biffweed. Okay, goodbye. That's the video. I don't know what that sound was. Yeah, video's done. It's an hour long. It's not 30 minutes. Yeah, that was the I hope you enjoyed. I'm not doing this, not doing another one of these for at least a month. It's gonna be a bit before I get the next ranking out. But yeah, thank you to everyone who supports me on Patreon. Funny story, the morning I'm recording this is the morning that the day at which I wake up in which the Muppet ranking comes out. And at the end, Shafe announces his like ranking of all the bottom placements that he's ever done. Which it either means that it's going to boost engagement for Biff's video and make it way overtake mine in views, or it's going to take views away from this video and mean my one overtakes his. There is no in between, and that's really funny to me. But also, it looks like it's going to be more than just movies, so it is going to be inherently kind of different. I'm very interested to see how, like, the movies differ in ranking from Biff's one. I know what Biff's ranking is before the video. I'm very curious to see what the differences are. Anyway, yeah, Biff's will be out probably like the exact same day that this video drops. So it'll be linked in the description. Go watch it and subscribe to Biffweed. Not that you ever listen to me when I say that. Do you even subscribe to me when I say? I never say that. Yeah. So again, thank you everyone who supports me on Patreon. And yeah, you can go support me on Patreon too. We have access to my Discord. Ow, I hit the table. Where you can make me say stupid stuff at the end of videos. Here we go.
That was his mistake! I like men! I love kissing men! No, you don't understand! I fucking love guys! I just want to make out with males! I cannot live in a world without people of the male gender! Trans rights, by the way! I love my trans men friends!
I can't enjoy this. My favorite YouTuber hasn't talked about it. And obviously of something only depends on whether or not a popular YouTuber has mentioned it. My opinions on media are solely reliant on if a crab or an Australian, or a Welshman, have justified them. Aren't yours?
The world is dead. Everyone is gone. There's no one left. Except, despicable me. The $4.6 million Walmart turkey breast. You know what? I accept that.
It's true though, animation isn't cinema, animation's just for kids.
Clearly you do not own a slingshot.
I love Gila monsters. They are fucking goated. I mean, look at that thing. How could you not love it? It's so dopey and adorable. I just want to give it a pet, and it's poisonous? It's just all W's. I mean, it's not poisonous, it's venomous, but you know.
It is I, Mr. Beast, from the popular rated G 1991 movie Beauty and the Beast. Today, I'm going to buy out this entire castle and kill a guy who can't read. Be sure to watch until the end so I can explain how I know Diff Gaston and everything, including murdering a dance floor.
I, Beast from Kingdom Hearts 2, have a severe fear of oversized keys.
Alright, that's that. I am very tired, but that's not because I've done a lot today, that's because I got no sleep. Yeah, again, if you enjoyed this video, thank you. Tell me what you thought below about the movies and what your ranking is. I got distracted by my Fang Joker model kit falling off the table. He is good now. I love him. I love them. Sorry, there's two of them. I love them. The sticker on the back of the leg of the Joker sign is coming off. It's fixed. Yeah. I don't know where I'm going with this. Have a good one, folks. I'm out.